Somehow the excitement of a refreshing, exciting starting 11 dissolved pretty quickly after that Valladolid early goal. But hey, Barcelona still got the 3 points. And as I always tell you, 3 points is still 3 points, especially in a title race, and especially when no one gets hurt. That is a double win in my book for this 2-1 victory over Real Valladolid. Welcome to episode 686 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I am Dan Hilton, and thank you so much, as always, for everybody who joined me. Yeah, it was a laissez-faire game, and we could have skipped it, but no, people still joined me on Big Up for the watch-along for that one. But I hope more than who were there with me against Real Valladolid join me for the big one on Tuesday against Inter, and then, of course, El Clasico coming up this coming weekend. So with all of that to come, such a big week, semifinals of the Champions League, El Clasico potentially to decide La Liga, we still got to talk a little Real Valladolid. So here are the 5 headlines from Barcelona's 2-1 win over Real Valladolid. Headline 1 is down to a deflection. For the starting lineup, yeah, I was excited by Ansu Fati, by Pau Victor, Hector Fort getting dusted off. And so, yeah, it was a bit exciting. We're all kind of worried that Pedri had to start another game, but I understand why you wanted that control. Now, I don't know the best science terms, but you get what I'm saying here. All the rest are variables around him, and having that constant in the middle is very helpful. So that's why Pedri started this game. But I think the guy that everybody kind of had their eye on wasn't just Ansu or Pau Victor, but it was Dani Rodriguez. So a really young forward line, the 19-year-old making his official first-team debut, a player that is often injured, and a player that we will talk about again later. Because before I got to talk about anything related to Barcelona, Real Valladolid had already put the ball into the back of the net. It came in the 6th minute from a corner. It was actually multiple corners before that. It works its way over to Sanchez, and then his shot gets deflected in a really unnatural way. People were blaming Ter Stegen for this. Obviously, you can't blame the players that the ball deflected off of. But I was kind of wondering at this point, A, do we think that that was slow reaction time? I don't think so. I think that people were looking to scapegoat Ter Stegen for this. Sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. And for Barcelona, you would have loved to have scored first so that you don't have to deal with Real Valladolid in a low block. We know that them scoring at home can be something dangerous. But I also thought at that point, I'm not worried. But I do want to take this time to talk about Ter Stegen, because as much as people want to say, oh, he's going to come in and tank the season and all these different things, no. Hansi Flick started Ter Stegen against Real Valladolid. That is a game that he should start, and Barcelona should get a win, which they did. And there was 1 goal scored. He didn't really have that much to do on the day. He had a late save he made that we'll get to later. But in the case of Ter Stegen, I'm not going to get all bent into shape about Ter Stegen. Szczesny is the keeper that is going to win Barcelona trophies this season. That is a fact. And Ter Stegen knows who he is in this team for the remainder of the season. And that is the guy that got started against Real Valladolid. Not much really to talk about in the first 35 minutes of the game beyond the goal. I thought Fermin was carrying the ball well and trying to get in between those lines at the low block. In the 15th minute, Pau Victor had the best attempt that was a non-goal from Barca in the game. It was a header from Fermin's cross, saved by the keeper. Through the 20 minutes, really just a lot of block shots from Valladolid and not too much analysis from me otherwise. This looked like a team in the first half especially that has never started together. Well, that's because that's true, as well as a team that have not played a lot of minutes, individually or collectively. And so against a low block, what do you have to do? You got to move the ball diagonally, you got to move the ball quickly from side to side, and you've got to try to break down some of those lines, both vertically as well as horizontally. Because if you don't break them down vertically, that means that a lot of onus is on your fullbacks or your wingers to make things happen. And the one winger was Dani Rodriguez, who Valladolid was choosing to defend 1v1. And the other one was Ansu Fati, who was trying to come inside, with Gerard Martin stretching high on that left side. But again, it does put a lot of creative onus both on your left and your right wingers and fullbacks. But I don't think Barcelona had the players who've played enough together to figure out those permutations and the timing. Things were just a bit slow and off in that first half. 26th minute, though, Dani Rodriguez, another long shot, goes wide. But that's the idea. It was a long diagonal from Pedri, Valladolid. As I said, they're 1v1 against Rodriguez in defending him, which is not the treatment that Lamine Yamal gets. And Valladolid were just fine by that, living or dying by Dani Rodriguez. 30th minute, it was Ansu Fati in transition. I know we all wanted this. It wasn't going to happen for Ansu on the day, saved by the keeper. Pedri, excellent here, waited and waited and waited and watched that transition instead of rushing it. He just watched it transpire, finding Ansu, and Ansu set himself up. But yeah, what are you going to do? Still 0-0 at that point. Headline 2 is unlucky Dani Rodriguez. Unfortunately, in the 33rd minute, what has defined his career since he came over from Real Sociedad's Cantera in 2020, his Barcelona career has just been marred by injuries. He reminds me a lot of Alarcon, who Barcelona sold to Porto over the summer, because he just seems to be on the field and good things are happening 2 or 3 games in a row, especially when he came back from injury to Barca Athletic this season. He just couldn't stop scoring. And this injury, unfortunately, the shoulder, that's not something that is hamstring or ankle or anything related to coming back too soon or whatever. This is just unlucky. And I feel for the kid on his official debut. But fortunately, Ronald Araujo could probably pull him aside in the locker room and say, hey, kid, it's okay. In my first appearance, I got a red card. Look at me now. I almost had a few red cards today, too. That's true. He had a yellow that wasn't a yellow, but the broadcast thought it was. And later on, he actually got his real yellow. But yes, Araujo had a red card. But other guys have also had debuts that didn't cover him with glory. Unfortunately, this one ends in injury for him. Bring on Lamine Yamal, which I think actually does make a lot of sense because Hansi Flick at that point, down 1-0, you're in the 35th minute. Let's just figure this thing out and bring on the guy that is going to unsettle that low block and bring that extra help or even a third defender over to Lamine Yamal, and then we'll find the space from there. 37th minute, by that time already, Lamine Yamal entered the field, and you saw how it all spaced out horizontally, and Valladolid were starting to get caught. Anwar had a yellow card tackle on Jar Martin that if you told me it was a red, because those studs felt like they were coming up, I wouldn't argue with them much. And on the other side, Asnu, who apparently is friends with Lamine Yamal, he's just a year older, came from the Barca Academy. Now he's at Valladolid on loan from Bayern Munich. He had all he could handle with Lamine Yamal and was asking for help for the remainder of that game. I thought Hector Fort, I think I'm going to talk about him now because we've been talking a little bit about the fullbacks. Gerard Martin wasn't great offensively in the first half. Much better when that left sideline had a lot more space because the entire defense had shifted over to Lamine Yamal's half of the field. And for Hector Fort, even when Lamine Yamal came on the field, I thought he was struggling. I thought his timing was off, and he looked like a player that had played less than 600 total first team minutes. Actually, 600 total minutes at any level this season. He just looked like a player that had not really played. In the second half, we saw him get on the ball a little bit more, and you could say when Lamine Yamal was on, he was more comfortable. But defensively, I thought he was a bit out of position. The high line, we saw. It took Araujo some time to get used to. Christensen, starting his first game of the season, looked like he adapted rather well. But yeah, Hector Fort just looked like a deer in headlights a bit in that first half. And I like that he settled down in the second half. But I think this performance against Valladolid does remind you why Hansi Flick might not necessarily trust the 18-year-old, let me repeat that again, the 18-year-old defender just yet. And his time at Barcelona could very well be coming. Headline 3 is business time. There were some ideas from Barcelona, particularly Fermin, except they just weren't executed, which again kind of does sum up Fermin Lopez on the days when he doesn't put the ball. Wait, he did put the ball in the back of the net, but before he did that, and I didn't know he was going to, that kind of does sum up Fermin Lopez this season. The ideas are there until the ball's in the back of the net. 44th minute, Lamine Yamal also had a wayward shot, which took us into halftime. Where down 1-0, there was no way that Hansi Flick was going to keep this game in the balance. I was sad to see Ansu, who I thought actually was pretty bright. I thought of the front three, Pau Victor, I liked his movement, but he wasn't really finding the game. Dani Rodriguez, he could have done a bit more than Lamine Yamal, of course, Lamine Yamal. But I didn't think Ansu Fati on performance alone deserved to be pulled. But I do get why you upgrade that position to Rafinha, especially when, what I told you before, Barcelona needed to start breaking Valladolid down vertically as opposed to just horizontally. Ansu Fati was doing a good job popping up and creating space on the horizontal space in between those lines, but you wanted a player who could get in behind and stretch Valladolid out. And that's what Rafinha gives you. So he and De Jong on for Ansu and Pedri. Thankfully, Pedri, even down 1-0, Hansi Flick trusted De Jong to come on and be a good enough midfielder. And I also thought De Jong did help bring some energy and ball carrying to this game. Pedri looked a bit like he should have been in second gear, and he should have been in second gear. Totally fine with Pedri's 45 minutes. He also was at times the only player who was actually opening Valladolid up side to side, which I don't want to have a bigger conversation about Gabi. That's why there's a comment section on YouTube, or you can find me on social media. Yeah, the Gabi conversation after this match is one that we can have. In the 52nd minute, the keeper saved another one, Rafinha, on a free kick. But you could tell from the jump in the second half, Barcelona, they looked the better side, and it felt like not a matter of if, but when. Headline 4 is more quality because the when begins in the 54th minute. Here's the 1-1. It's just too much quality from Barcelona. After another set piece for Barcelona, Raúl just stays up there. Smart. He barely stays onside, so maybe a little bit of luck for Barcelona. And Lamine Yamal, he looked to feed him, but that forced the goalkeeper off his line regardless. Keeper punched it away, then Rafinha's shot gets to Valladolid. His 16th Liga goal of the season. Yeah, chef's kiss. You can argue about Rafinha. I don't actually think anyone's doing that anymore. Let me know. Is anybody even upset about Rafinha anymore? I don't think so. He gets his 16th Liga goal of the season. It is a shot, had to actually place this one. It wasn't just a pass into the net. So still had some work to do. Good on you, Rafinha. And then good on you, Fermin Lopez, because 6 minutes later in the 60th minute, it's a Gerard Martin cutback and the pass that earned Gerard Martin the man of the match in La Liga. Fermin was left completely alone in the center there. Lamine Yamal, you could see 3 passes before the goal was scored. The defense completely collapses on Lamine Yamal, who came centrally. Then Barcelona in 2 passes, Christensen, Gavi, they move it to the left, and then Valladolid drop in, but their back line dropped in much faster than their midfield does, which meant that both Lamine Yamal and Fermin Lopez were right in that sweet spot in the belly of the defense between the midfield and the back line. And Fermin Lopez, you're going to give it that much time and space from 15 feet out, he's going to score a goal. So that is terrible defending by Valladolid, something we'd expect from a side that has already been relegated to the Segunda Division. I know they were playing for pride. They are playing as individuals for contracts. So I think some of them might stick around in the first division. Many of them will not. Fermin Lopez certainly will be. I also want to shout out Pau Victor on the goal. Really good movement by him to get the goalkeeper's eyes shifting just as Fermin Lopez delivered that shot. So good stuff all around for Barcelona. And then finishing up this game, some extra notes. Dani Olmo came on to play with him in the 62nd minute on for Pau Victor. 69th minute, it's tricky from Lamine Yamal, a back heel to Fort. Fort danced on it. This is his best move maybe the whole season. He took on 2 defenders, but his shot hit the inside of the post. That really could have been a magical moment for him. Hopefully he gets one if Barcelona can wrap up La Liga rather quickly. Maybe, please. 74th minute, Ter Stegen had to make a save on Latasa at the near post. It's a really great run underneath Fort and Araujo by Real Valladolid. Glove side save going away from his body, so maybe a little more difficult than you think as well. 78th minute, Gavi goes down, looked like a hamstring. Hopefully he's okay. I did say no injuries, hoping Gavi is fine. Eric comes on for him. 80th minute, it's saved off the line by Valladolid. Lamine Yamal had a give me, just could not finish, and Candela got his foot in at the right moment. 88th minute, Rafinha, another free kick to force the save, and then Olmo late on, goes down. It's an insanely good pass. I actually just bring this up, not because I cared about a penalty there, but because this is an insanely good pass from Eric, like a FIFA through ball from Eric to Rafinha to set it all up. The ref said that the foul was outside the box, even though you could have argued it was inside the box, but Barcelona at that point weren't whining about it either. Stoppage time, Araujo was defending for his life, so the game was not over just yet. Both he and Christensen ended the game on yellows, as I mentioned. But hey, that back line today, they gave up the goal and the deflected shot, but yeah, they didn't give up any other goals to Real Valladolid, which 3 points you had to win. The headline 5 is the calm before the storm. I didn't really get a chance to talk about it, but Barcelona's U19s were the UEFA Juvenil A or the UEFA Youth League champions, if that's what you want to call that division. So Youth League champions, again, the last time that Barcelona did that was the Ricky Puig, Alex Collado, Toomey team from quite a few years ago. So congratulations to them. Ibrahim Diarra had a brace in the final, but Barcelona's U19 team, I thought, was the best team in the UEFA Youth League this season. So congratulations to them. And the reason I bring that up is because the Femini, U19s, as well as the first team are all still pushing for that treble. And the reminder here is it doesn't matter how this happened. Hopefully, as I said, Gavi's okay. But big picture from this game, I don't need to tell you that, is Barcelona are one step closer with these 3 points to La Liga. They're now up 7 as I record this with Real Madrid against Celta de Vigo tomorrow morning. So by the time you're watching this, likely Real Madrid beats Celta. I mean, who knows? That would be great. So assuming that Madrid have beaten Celta at this point, my math isn't great, but Barcelona could win the Liga by beating Real Madrid, and then a win against Espanyol in Cornellà could do it, could wrap up the Liga title. A draw is possible in El Clasico as well, but if Barca lose to Madrid, it would still come down to those games against Espanyol, Villarreal, and Athletic Club. So it's not easy sledding, but Barcelona up by 4, best case scenario, could be up by 7. Yeah, this Liga is theirs to lose. Then it's the semifinals of the Champions League on Tuesday as well. There's so much going on. Remember, big up, subscribing on YouTube, following on a podcast app, $3 on Patreon to help me keep making these shows, following on social media. All right, you know what it is. We're at the end of the season. So please, as always, take care of yourself. And until next time, Forza Barca.